moderatörümüzü davet etmek istiyorum. Moderatörümüz Forbes Travel Guide küresel elçisi Filip Boyen geliyor.
Finally, Thank you.
Boyen, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much.
Me too.
Excellent. So, merhaba. Burada olmaktan çok mutluyum. So today we're going to talk about changes in expectations and behavior of travelers, and also to go from luxury to lifestyle. So let's welcome our wonderful panelists.
Would you like to invite your panelists, or do you want me to?
You can go ahead.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Then, this is your seat.
Thank you.
And I'm going to invite your panelists. Efendim, Sayın Filip Boyen'e bu güzel, tatlı, sıcak welcoming için çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Ve moderatörümüze eşlik etmek üzere The Peninsula İstanbul Genel Müdürü Jonathan Crook'u davet ediyorum öncelikle. Hello.
I'll go to the end.
Hotels operasyonlardan sorumlu Genel Müdür Orta Doğu ve Afrika Amir Golbarg geliyor. Servotel kurucu ortaklarından Ayla Heyfegil geliyor. Hoş geldiniz. Ve Technogym Türkiye Yönetim Kurulu Başkanı ve CEO'su Vittorio Zagaia. Hoş geldiniz. Mr. Boyen.
Fantastic.
No problem. Fantastic. The stage is yours.
Thank you. So I actually worked in Antalya 35 years ago. For 2 years, I opened a hotel in Antalya. And as you know better than I do, once you come to Turkey, it never leaves you. So every time I come to Turkey, it's like I'm coming home.
Bravo.
It's a beautiful country, and I think your biggest quality, besides the culture, the history, and the amazing food, is the people, and is the mentality of the people. You really have hospitality in the heart, and I can't tell you how important that is for a tourism destination. For me, it's actually quality number one. So congratulations, wonderful. Right, let's jump right in here. What I want to ask all the panelists, because we're talking about luxury here, luxury there, it's basically a word that is overused. What do you feel luxury means today with the different behavior, if there is a different behavior of luxury travelers? So Ayla, let's start with you.
As being the only lady in the panel, I think it's my right to speak as long as I want. So we were discussing.
Not quite.
Yes. So I was just watching previously Gilda Perez's presentation about the Orient Express. I think she said a lot. Maybe some of the audience has watched it or not, but luxury is no more an ownership. Luxury is not being big or being with a brand logo on top of anything. So luxury is more experiential today. That's what we find. Especially as Servotel, we have been developing for 40 plus years now in 44 countries, products and majority lifestyle and luxury products. What we see, we do a lot of research, of course, behind it. What we see is that the generations coming, including ourselves, we want to feel we belong to a location or to a brand rather than how big the room size or how big the lobby, and physically or emotionally how you are sort of seeing it from outside as luxury. It's more attachment, it's more integrated, a better integration, and also our lifestyle being catered in the luxury environment. So once you step in, you want to be seen and felt even without you saying your name or even without you emphasizing what you want from that space. So, and luxury, when we are talking about hospitality, it's not the hotels, it is almost everything today. It's the boats, it's the restaurants that you are going, it's the working, co-working spaces. So in the overall, what I can say in very short terms, what we find out from our researchers is luxury have to make sure that you belong to the space rather than physically just giving whatever is necessary on that location.
Thank you. Jonathan, you are on a daily basis, you are confronted with top luxury clients as managing director of the Peninsula. So what do you feel is luxury?
Well, first of all, thank you, Philip, for allowing me to join this panel.
Pleasure.
And being the junior member here. And at the same time, thank you for TIF for inviting me to be part of this occasion as well. Luxury has dramatically changed. I think in the past it was very much physical attributes and being over the top in what you're offering. And now, as you're quite rightly saying, it's sort of taking the experience but taking it to this level of the feeling of how a guest is connecting not to the property, but how when you're going online, you're not looking for a luxury traveler to book the best room in the city, but you're looking to book the best room in the city, which also gives you the most meaningful connection to that city and that destination. So I think that's really the challenge of any hotelier, and that comes in many facets. So it's very much, not being excessive. It's not making it a transactional moment, but also recognizing that travelers looking for how to best invest their time, how to make it as seamless as an experience and less irritating and worrisome which is something which true luxury really delivers. When you buy a Hermes or a Chanel, you're just buying quality. You look at it, but you don't have to inspect the stitching because you know what you're going to get. And then the experience is the wows you get on the street, right? So I think a true luxury hotel is really looking to bring these elements from the arrival experience, the hospitality, and of course I'm in Turkey, so that's a given already, and then just beginning to connect the story through the design, the location, of course, and how you can touch a person's heart, which brings them back and makes them tell the world about the experience they've just gone through.
Amazing. Amir, as one of the companies willing to come into Turkey, and I'm sure you will soon be represented here, so what's happening in minor hotels?
It's very interesting because obviously Turkey is really on top of our list. I call it my Achilles heel because that's really the one that, I've been coming similar like yourself. I think since childhood, this has been a second home for us on the family side, and following the evolution of tourism in Turkey has always been on the interest of mine for me. And when you mention the word luxury, and in particular combining that with where we sit today in the Turkish market, that for me is really where I see the greatest opportunity. In a market where, that is reached to where it is today, last year record numbers, 64 million travelers. I mean, it's incredible numbers you're dealing with here. But then you have to start breaking down the demographics and you see, well, this is probably the most ripe destination in terms of, how far it's evolved in the tourism side, how much it employs within the economy, but at the same time, how much on the experiential side you can tick every box, which is where we see luxury. Be it from the heritage, history, gastronomy, yachting, from all aspects, Turkey ticks every box. Yet you reverse that over and you see that the average spend here is considerably lower than where it should be, as a market. And you look at each destination within this beautiful landscape, and you look at with all the infrastructure being developed. The road infrastructures are fantastic. The airports are continuously evolving. You have some of the best airlines and connectivities in the world here. Everything ticks the right box. Yet you see a destination that runs at around $100 average rate per night as an average spend per consumer coming into Turkey. And that for me is really where I see the greatest opportunity. And when I look at our brands, we started our journey in 2001 with the Anantara brand. The company is 60 years old, but Anantara was our firstborn baby. We started in 2001, and the whole ethos was around indigenous sustainable luxury. It was about being indigenous to every destination. It's about being sustainable, not just from a CSR and ESG perspective, but from an economic perspective and from the people perspective. And then the luxury part being all the intangible experiences that you can touch by being indigenous by every destination that you operate in. When you look at those three formulas and you look at a country like Turkey, and you think to yourself, A, why haven't we been here earlier? That's the first thing I tell myself. But the second and more important thing is, when was the market right for the shift? And I think Turkey needed to reach a tipping point, which in my opinion it has now, where you look at it from an investor perspective and from an operator perspective, and you think, well, when is it time to start shifting away from the dependency on mass tourism, on large-scale resorts, away from Istanbul, primarily with AI, a lot of dependency on tour operators and connectivity through them, to now shifting away to a lot more bespoke, high level, and incorporating some of the flora, fauna, nature, history, heritage, with wellness, culinary, and all the parts that we're invested in. So for us, really, that's where I see the greatest opportunity, where we can shift the average spend here, and focus on what we do best. With our culinary side, wellness side, we do boats, planes, trains, and resorts, and bring that all together and hopefully develop the destination further.
Fantastic. What an answer. There was a lot of information in there. Vittorio, how is the wellness industry addressing and evolving expectations in luxury lifestyle guests within hospitality and real estate?
Indeed. In both hospitality and real estate segment and in the landscape, the luxury word is used profoundly in many other industries, but it's not defined by excess. It is defined by purpose.
Yes.
This is the most important change, I believe, because everybody wants to live an experience linked to their daily lifestyle when they travel. Of course, the luxury word remains itself, as we say, for a purpose, but different generations define the luxury in a different level. The wellness, the healthy lifestyle is somehow curated around beautifully curated spaces, environments, but there is always the need of a personalized touch. This is why we are coming along with globally known, but also in Turkey, with well-introduced real estate developers or hotels to understand and define better the needs to then accordingly produce the service around it. It's no longer only about the definition of the equipment. We know that the equipments need to be more sustainable, they need to be environmental, they need to have a certain luxury touch, personalized feeling. As a matter of fact, I also realized that the luxury is somehow reduced to the word, what makes me feel special, seems like it's made to me. And this is only coming with the experience that Technogym globally has been building in due years with the real estate developers, with hotel chains, local hotels, because today we have also the reality of data. So we need to have a connectivity, we need to be connected, we need to have the data process used in favor of the end user, because that's, after that, who defines the loyalty into the services that are produced. So briefly, I can say that for Technogym, it's like bringing the lifestyle expectations into real life, having everything surrounded for their well-being, in a nutshell.
Thank you. Ayla, how will hotels, brands, and operators adapt to the evolution from simply offering products and services to creating entire lifestyle?
I'll just give you an example. For the couple of years while we were doing these researches, we found out that in the room product, the users do need their own space. What it means is that if you have a large room, you still need a nook or a space, which we call is a half room, where you can do your yoga, your meditation while your spouse is sleeping, or you want to go and look into your emails while the other party is watching a movie. So what we have to do in the luxury environment is to be able to create these special nooks. That's what came from our researchers. And when we were talking about it with the brands or with the investors, everybody is saying, but why do you need? This is a large room. We can give a larger room. We can do it 70 square meters, 90 square meters. No, it's not the 70 or the 90 square meters that the people are looking for. They are looking for a small nook where they can close the door, do their meditation while the other party is having a Netflix movie night. So we have to be very careful. We have to do our research a lot more, because now we have the AIs, now we have all the gadgets in our hands where we can search and find out. But we have to make sure we touch our clients hand in hand, face to face, look in the eye, and really ask what they're looking for. Just very quickly, coming back to, for example, the gym and technology, we were discussing this morning together. I have a Whoop, he has a Ring. So now we are personalizing everything according to our body, according to our needs. It's no more going to the gym and doing 1 hour of sweat training. It is day and night checking what we want. So the luxury, not only in the hospitality, not only in the hotels, but everywhere, have to really cater to the needs of the individuals.
Amazing. Jonathan, historically, luxury hospitality has always been high touch rather than high tech. How is that changing with the arrival of AI, and how are you looking at that as a company like Peninsula?
Can you hear me? Yes, you can. We're embracing AI. That's very important. And, you know, at the beginning I was talking about this sense of feeling and seamlessness. And I think what AI is giving to luxury hotels is the ability to really focus on the guest experience, through obviously connecting them through the booking channels. And obviously I know you're working on that as well, and how you persuade them to book direct versus obviously through other sources. Then at the same time, the seamlessness of reacting and through the reservation process, and obviously being able to do automatic replies and really cater very individual replies depending on the tone and the style of the request. And then the researching of that client, and bringing them to the property, and through all this is allowing time for this, because of the quickness of AI, allowing staff to focus much more on the guests directly, and being much more personalized in the experience once they're on the property, which I think today makes it such an easier process. We say easier, but actually only gets harder, actually, because you challenge AI further and you research it further to go deeper. But it's not just AI, it's technology. Obviously, Peninsula is very well known for development of sort of the first bedside panel in the world, actually, many, many years ago. Even now, Wi-Fi, and our guests can, once they come to the airport, they can pre-register on their mobile phones before, they can connect to the Wi-Fi in the house car to the hotel room, and it stays with them to the houseboat. Actually, we just took it over now, our Peninsula yacht, and your Wi-Fi continues to the Four Seasons. Not quite in this room, unfortunately, but we're getting there. But what's really unique is that when a guest now travels to London, they don't need to reconnect their phone, because it already knows your phone and your address, etc., and you connect straight to Wi-Fi in London as well. So again, it's little things like that which makes it seamless. So the technology, the AI, allows us to focus on that guest experience, which is key.
Amazing. Amir, Turkey is a very mature market.
Yes.
How would you see the rollout and the adaptation of AI in a country like, in a market like Turkey?
And that's exactly the type of market where you see it ripe for it. To put an example, as much as we hear about Dubai, UAE, Middle East, and the evolution of hospitality there, I yet don't believe that it's mature enough that it can adopt enough into hospitality in particular. You know, the maturity of the market, and also the way that the competitive landscape sits at the moment, in a market like this is exactly what Jonathan mentioned. This is where you want to offload everything back end at the moment, which is what we've done. We've done a global rollout now with Oracle on our ERP, where everything from finance, procurement, HR, and the whole back end system, it's all been centralized, which then, you know, frees up margins so that you can spend a lot more in the front and to personalize the experiences. So that's sort of one part of the journey. And that's something where you see in a market like Turkey, you know, whilst you have a lot of domesticated brands that run their own businesses historically, two things come to mind. Why would I shift over to a large operator? You know, one historically was always about distribution. It's about getting the power of distribution and getting, you know, segmentation, mixed change. But the second part, which is becoming more and more relevant with the power of the ecosystem by investing in AI, companies like us, is then suddenly you can start looking at the economies of scale and how you can offload all of the back end under that one engine so that you only can focus on the front. So, you know, whilst you can then drive a ton more revenue, hopefully on the top end, you will also see a significant saving and an EBITDA return as well that comes with it. And that's for me where Turkey, as I said, everything is about timing and equilibrium. It's about the market is ripe enough for the change. We've seen enough evolution and shift in the markets where it's gone to the tipping point where they now need to start focusing on quality over quantity. And then thirdly, now with the evolution of AI, the power of a large brand and an engine can suddenly bring a twofold impact, both on the top and the bottom line. So that for me is really where you see a significant difference. But I think to add on that as well, where I think the markets have shifted significantly for us on the booking side is historically one of the most difficult things to capture on a booking stage pre-arrival, if you're focusing on experiential luxury, which is where we've focused our time since inception, is how can you maximize the journey pre-arrival to book itineraries and get the experiences locked in? That's a tough one.
Yep.
It's either through human intervention or through having a DMC or a tour operator that plans the whole thing. But as a property, through your online channel, is very difficult. That's where we've started investing in our AI, where we've started now to adopt that you can curate your whole experience. We started it in Africa, because in Africa it's very big. You need to book series across different countries, safaris, etc. But it's something that I see as an opportunity in a place like Turkey, where you can say, well, you're coming to Istanbul. How can I curate the full journey through AI, where you can go to Cappadocia, you can go down to you know, Antalya, you can go to Marmaris, you can go to Cheshme, you can do the full journey, plan every itinerary, dining, etc., through the inclusion of AI, where you can adopt all of that. And that's where you really start seeing an impact. Because then while you're driving incremental segment shift, you're also driving incremental spend pre-arrival. And then you can upsell.
And I think in AI, what is becoming more and more important is your discoverability of your hotels on AI search engines.
That's it.
Because I think we all know that within a year and a half, 2 years, guests will be able to book a full itinerary
It
on
will be.
AI.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a good time for hotels to start now building their discoverability on AI search engines, because 40% of all travelers already search on ChatGPT, on Gemini, etc., for destinations, hotels, etc. So this is basically the SEO of AI. And I
That's
think
it.
That's
That's the
becoming
new Google.
really important.
You know,
Yeah.
that's it.
Vittorio, how do you identify distinct guest needs and tailor both design and strategy to meet these needs and expectations in your fitness business?
I kept on taking notes because this is a topic that I think it is really rapidly changing. The researchers are very clearly stating that the end user somehow is spending more and more time on booking sites or on the web pages of the hotel and of the services that are offered. The wellness lifestyle somehow apparently is becoming one of the most important things because they want to keep their routines. They want to keep on using their own technologies. They want to carry on their lifestyle wherever they go, independently whether it's a city hotel or it's a summer resort or 7 stars or in a mountain or whatever. And of course we have two challenges. One is, I would say, the easiest part, because we come along together with the stakeholders from scratch. Or we have hotels, customers that are willing to change. So changing something already existing, it also brings along a new language that you have to develop on it. We as Technogym, we have defined 4 different segments that when we deal with a customer, with a hotel, with an investor, with a real estate developer, we try to understand their target customer, first of all. In our, let me say, guidance, in our clusters, we have wellness, sportness, fitness, and healthness. I would say wellness, which is a word that Technogym has embraced since over 40 years in its existence, is those who are seeking to stay active and they care about their well-being. Sportness are those who want to continue their performance, active lifestyle. Then we have fitness. They are the ones which they are more like social animals. They want to be social, so they want to have group activities. They want to be in more entertaining activities, again based on physical activity. And then we have healthness. Technogym in February 2026 launched the healthness as the new era. In this new era, it's very much linked into the longevity fact that today longevity is getting pronounced more and more every day in our lives. So longevity expectations are different because they want to have also touch their preventive side for their health and for their well-being. So once we decide with the real estate developer or with the existing customer to which direction they want to go by understanding their customer segment, it can be one of them, it can be all of them, then we start to build a whole system, but it's no longer limited to a wellness area, to a gym area. This is a holistic approach of the hotel, because the hotel is in a position to offer this well-being approach from the rooms, because we have wellness a la carte, we have room solutions, we have outdoor solutions that the hotel can also take part of it and utilize. We are using artificially empowered training programs, personalized program. And when you start to say personalization is where you start to grab the customer from a different aspect, because then you can build everything around it. So I believe everything is like creating a meaningful wellness journey, a journey that is creating along a loyalty, also a spark of mouth, because you feel well, you go back. So at the end of all of this, the journey for the customer starts from the reservation and it doesn't finish in the checkout, because it's an ongoing reality and you can carry on with you. So this is why I believe with beautifully crafted environments, equipments, using the technology and embracing and understanding the customer needs. For instance, we have systems that are enabling with few questions that given by the customer to understand already what type of customers is checking in. And if you start to talk the language that he's expecting and you're touching his well-being side, his longevity side, I think that you are already on a certain level of creating the loyalty. This is how Technogym looks after it. It's no longer equipment. It's much beyond.
Wonderful. Jonathan, today's traveler craves authenticity and a deep connection to the destination. I think we all know that. When we spoke earlier, you said something beautiful to me. Tying your heart to the destination. How do you bring that to life at Peninsula?
I think, again, it's in many ways. So for our property, and for the new property in London in many ways as well, is obviously we were a clean slate. We had partners who had the same vision as well, and through the design stage, purposely working with a Turkish interior designer, Zeynep Fadilulu, and taking on what are really 3 stunning heritage buildings in the middle of Istanbul and extremely important to the community and have historical purpose to many people and families. We had this unique opportunity to make sure that we bring these Turkish elements through the interior design. So you automatically had that tick box of, as I mentioned, the room, right? So you're not just booking the room, now you're booking something which begins to connect to you. It's not a cookie cutter destination in many ways because of these facets. Then for us, obviously, we're blessed to have a very rich recruitment pool of talent in Turkey. Sometimes, obviously, it's challenging as people look abroad for their careers as well. However, we managed to bring together some very unique colleagues who you've experienced to really, truly go out of their way. And I think that's hospitality in Turkey, about how they genuinely from the heart connect to the guests. They're passionate about Turkey and about this country and everything that it offers, and the ability, not just in Istanbul, but around the country. So these touch points, and then it's making sure you're curating the ability to experience the city, which we do through the Peninsula Academy, from photographic tours of Aragula, because we have a lot of his photography through our hotel, which is one of Turkey's most prominent photographers in the past, through running in the roofs of the Grand Bazaar, which I know a lot of people offer as well. But the important thing is that you bring this to the guest and you make sure that it's genuinely conveyed. And then, of course, through the culinary program, obviously, we've purposely gone out and worked with Fatih Tutak, generating a very unique concept in Galata through its Turk-Asian story, through the experiences on the gardens and sitting on the Bosphorus, and creating what is truly what we hope is the best of Turkey, as many hotels do here in the city, so that it makes them excited to not only connect to our brand and come back and have that emotional connection, which in turn is an asset value, right? So, but also for me, this hotel is about being ambassadors for tourism in Turkey as well, which is
So do you
important.
feel that the guest is expecting you to be the facilitator to let them discover the destination and the hidden gems of the destination?
Yes, I think obviously a lot of guests come through DMCs, come through Abercrombie and Kent and different travel agents who bespoke their tour. But we have a very capable team and we're ready for that as well. And because of this natural pride here, it's driven that we want people to experience this city.
Amazing.
And that's very important.
Ayla, should design spaces and services look and feel different in the era of conscious and discreet wealth?
I think what will happen is like today we are not traveling only as husband, wife, or as a family, but with our little ones as well, with our dogs, for example. The other day I was reading an article where an hotel brand has created special food, special drinks, special beds, and even bathrobes for the dogs when they are traveling. So the new generation, and when I'm talking about new generation, I'm not talking about young people, I'm also talking about us, because now our investors, even at the age of 80, they are looking into their ChatGPT to sort of ask, like you said, it becomes like a Google, and ask where they should do, what they should do, and all these things. So. Yeah. We are all new generation now with these new things that we have, gadgets we have in our hand, would be looking into spaces and places where they can be full, so it's holistic. When you say, for example, that especially, and I'm very happy to hear that as Technogym, you now have a fourth version of you on the health, on the longevity in February. We are designing a lot of properties nowadays on the longevity. So we are living long, it's evident because of all these new treatments, but how well are we going to age is the main subject. So these are the things that we have to, as an investor or as a brand, we have to look into. Who is traveling with who, and what do they need, and what do they like? And while they're traveling, what would be their priorities, like wellness, like health, like their dog, or like their extra space for work or for extra activities that they want to do, as well how they feel inside it. So they have to feel attached, they have to feel that the brand is offering them something totally, so that they can return back to the same place. Because marketing is an issue that we are discussing amongst our investors. The brands are lucky because they have already their loyal clientele, which comes back to their different properties. But especially in Turkey, we have lots of individual investors who are not a part of a brand. Once you are not a part of a brand, you have to make sure at least some percentage of your client are returning back, so that the marketing costs are also optimized at the end of the day. So I think these are the things that we are looking at. Servotel, we are trying to help the investors to sort of look into different dimensions of investment. It's not only, okay, let's build and let's put concrete and have a window there. So
Great.
The life has changed.
Thank you. Let's touch on my favorite topics, and that's people and human capital and the team that we have, and that's so crucial to the operations. I was lucky enough to be the interim manager at the Orient Express La Minerva Hotel in Rome for 6 months last year. And you know, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So I was very happy to have that opportunity late in my career. And I must say, all the stories, because I've spent 16 or 17 years in corporate offices, and I must say, all the stories about the young generations, huge sense of entitlement, they don't know what loyalty means, they want to be promoted in 10 minutes, they want the salary increase in 5 minutes. And I have to say, in Italy, it was a complete different experience. It was one of the best experiences of my life. Because the Italians are very much like the Turkish. They have hospitality in the heart. You have to bring it out. Yesterday, I was very thankful that Dimitris was talking about purpose. Now, purpose, if you can give people purpose, that's when you can create service excellence, right? Horst Schulze, which was one of the founders of Ritz-Carlton, said it 50 years ago. Purpose is the heart of our business. Profit is the applause we get for creating a motivating work environment so our employees will take care of our guests. And that for me is really important. And the team today, with all the changing expectations of all these luxury guests, it is critically important that we train them, that we adapt them to that situation. And emotional intelligence becoming incredibly important for me. That they feel instinctively when a guest needs service. They feel instinctively when to approach the guest, because the new clients don't want to be over-pampered. They don't want their conversations to be interrupted by waiters 3 times over a cup of coffee. They don't want that. Smart restaurants today, they're already asking their clients when they arrive, would you like us to explain every single dish and wine, or would you rather have a relaxing time with your family and friends? And I can guarantee, if you ask that question, 70% says, I want to be a relaxing time. Sure. So I want your take on that. Yeah. Let's start with you.
You know, it's a very interesting question, and you started it off interestingly well. I mean, I think the whole perception today's market of the Gen Z, and even more so coming toward Gen Alpha, because I have the first-hand experience with that, is, you know, patience levels, minimum. Loyalty is based on what I'm looking for. Purpose, yes, but purpose is also what triggers me, not necessarily what triggers you, and that's the difference. But there is a fine line, and that for me is very, very interesting part. And I employ a lot of Gen Z in our office. And I found what is a very interesting denominator where you can really draw them is, remember this new gen, we went from an analog era to a digital era. Where they're now raised, and the Gen Z, and even more so with the Gen Alpha, they had the privilege of exposure very early on. From a 5-6-year-old onwards, had more exposure than I have at my age. They've had exposure through the web, the YouTube, through social media, through now ChatGPT and AI and all of that. So that means they're used to an environment where they've been exposed to a lot, and through that they've formed their own opinions, they've formed their own directions that they want to do. And at the same time, when we then talk about every single part that we're talking from the consumer, which he was mentioning about longevity, wellness, well-being, culinary, purpose, all of that, bring that back into your workforce. That's the new gen. So what you really, and that's where we've been able to trigger is, we're very entrepreneurial as a company. So what we've done and how we've been able to attract the new talent is that we give them the freedom to be entrepreneurial, to be free thinkers. You cannot come in today's world and implement an ethos or a culture that is imposing, this is the way you operate, this is your booth, this is how you have to be. That will deter them away, and the whole purpose will evolve.
Fantastic.
So you need to give them the ability to be free thinkers, give them a bit of a rope, expose them, and believe me, they will be more loyal than your original workforce, because they're going to be the ones who's going to drive you in the next phase of your business.
Great. Vittorio, what do you feel about that, your team?
Well, you know, I think as Technogym in global, I think we have a sort of level-aged members of the family, and they are the ones which they have to transfer the culture of Technogym and be a partner to the company we work with. In this case, hotel and real estate, for instance. This is why we have the Wellness Institute Academy, because we want to deliver also training and education to this new era of healthness, longevity, and wellness and fitness, because it changes. The customer needs are changing, and nothing is only limited, as I said before, to only an equipment. but not only also to environment. Everything is like creating emotions. We spoke about altogether here of emotions. We spoke about personalization. This could also come to a level of hyper-personalization, simply because we want to create an experience to the guest. And this experience changes by age to age, by gender to gender, by expectations to expectations. I'm very happy, for instance, when we were doing the Peninsula project in Turkey, I mean, there was such an intense collaboration from them to build something so accurate, not for today, but that lasts. The same thing with Amir, when I spoke before and I found out their relationship on a global scale with Technogym, the same thing. At the end, the team, the solutions, the embracement of new technologies, and the curated spaces with architects, with organizations like Servotel, it's just to create the loyalty of the customer and willing him to come back to us.
Perfect. Jonathan, and lastly, as I'm staying at the Peninsula and I have experienced firsthand your hotel and the quality of your service and your staff, and also toured the back of house areas, I can only congratulate you because you have a staff restaurant. It's not a staff canteen, which is one of your biggest attractions. You have a gym for staff. You have a relaxation room with sleeping pods. I've spoken to various staff over breakfast, etc. They're extremely happy. You have one of the lowest turnovers in Istanbul. What is the reason for that, and how do you do it?
Well, I've had my executive committees here.
Yeah.
So they can help as well. And they'll probably disagree in my answer as well to some extent, because, you know, they'll call me controlling or something. But I mean, first of all, you know, I came from New York, obviously a very different recruitment market to Istanbul. And then with head office, we purposefully went about how can we be the best in class, because that's how we consider ourselves. So we made sure there was a gym, courtesy of Technogym. We ensured that there wasn't a staff cafe or cafeteria.
Yep.
It was a full service 5-meal period restaurant, and you can dine as many times as you wish. We ensured for one of the first hotels in Istanbul to do a 5-day working week versus a 6-day working week, allowing the regular line staff to have a life, which is extremely important. And this all begins to pay back very quickly. And obviously, you know, we made sure we're a little ahead in basic salary. We ensured an interesting subject right now, but of course we introduced service charge, which is under challenge right now in this industry. But however, all these elements, and I could see how the staff and with the executive team, how they could begin to trust us in the decisions we're making. And you were talking about empowerment, and, you know, when you employ staff in Turkey, everybody has a degree more or less. Everybody's gone to hospitality university, and because obviously it's a key driver of industries in this country. So you're dealing with an exceptionally well-educated, you know, passionate group of people. And through that, we ensure that we have very robust training programs constantly on a weekly basis, but not locally, but also internationally, and we send 12 staff to training programs in Hong Kong and other destinations. In 3 years, we've already sent about 12 to 15 different staff working now permanently in London and Chicago, and different properties. So from day one, we weren't protective about the strongest assets. We pushed the strongest assets out because we could see the benefit of the brand, and it gave everybody in the hotel, oh, I can be like this guy. I can have this opportunity. We did a wonderful exercise this year, which was a business concept idea where groups of about 6 different groups went together and came back and were allowed to choose any subject and how the hotel could improve. And I tell you, you come back and you let Gen Z alphas run away for a month or 2, and they come back and you go,
ideas,
that's embarrassing. You know, why didn't we think of that? Why don't you do that? And that's good, because it makes you stay awake, and it happened.
Fantastic. This is all we have time for. A round of applause for these beautiful and wonderful panelists, please.
Thank you.
I just would like to say something. As TTYD, we have produced a new report on employment on the tourism sector. I wish all the audience to have a look into it. I think it's very interesting.
Excellent. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Güzel. Thank you.
We have to stay for a
They have
Photo time.
Pardon.
Ah. you. Thank you. Listen, thank you.
Thank you very much for this inspiring panel. It was great to hear you. Thank you. Another one? Another one? Yes, there is another one. Şerif Hanım, there's another one. And the picture together. Tekrar çok teşekkür ediyoruz panelistlerimize bu güzel panel için.